Alex Albon suffered from an appendicitis, and Nyck was drafted in just ahead of FP3. Many saw it as an audition for the Dutchman for a rather more permanent seat in Formula One next year, so fingers crossed for that. And again, Alex Jakes has shared his opinion at this time on the Dutchman's performance. One of the stories of the weekend, of course, Nyck de Vries, who you've covered over many years in Formula 3 and Formula 2. How well do you think he did?
I think that's outstanding. I think that's one of the drives of the season, to be in hospitality, sipping on your cappuccino, to get the call up, and then to get through a section of qualifying, and then with nothing prepares you to drive one of these cars. The drivers will say, other than driving these cars, you can train all you like, but the most important thing is quite literally race fitness, time and time again. I think that is one of the drives of the season. He can be so proud of what he's achieved. Don't get many drivers make their debut at 27 these days. He has, and to score points on debut, masterful.
Well, that's one of the points, isn't it, about Nyck, is that he's older, and inverted commas, he's not old, and he didn't win the Formula 2 championship in his debut year. And I think that's maybe a reason why he's not favoured. What do you think about that concept?
I think it's quite harsh. I mean, the happiest man with Nyck de Vries' performance other than Nyck de Vries is Felipe Drugovich, because the parallels are there. Third season, claiming the title in the second tier. I think it's better to err on the positive side. If a driver like Charles Leclerc, like George Russell, takes the third tier title, Oscar Piastri takes the second tier title immediately in their rookie season, that's something to mark them out as a Grand Prix who is as a driver capable of winning Grand Prix. It's not to say that you don't belong in Formula One if you can't do it immediately. We get different drivers with different skill sets that develop at different times. That's what makes the sport great. The stopwatch never lies. How quickly you get to that point, I think, is key.
It is key, and other drivers have made their F1 debut with Williams, of course, but only two have scored points: Jacques Villeneuve and Nico Rosberg, and those two went on, of course, to win World Drivers' Championships. We've got a number of questions on this topic, Alex, which I'll read out, and then we can put them to you if you don't mind to answer.
Sure.
One of them is here from Anonymous. Did Nyck's performance surprise you, and how would you rate his chances of getting a seat for next season after what we called his audition? Another question is asking whether he did indeed secure a seat with his 9th place, and if he did, is that knocking Logan Sargent out of the way? And a good point here about AlphaTauri considering Felipe Drugovich, which we'll come on to later in the show. I think we've got one more on this. All three here are anonymous, which is absolutely fine. We just love hearing your questions. The shenanigans, I'm not sure what the shenanigans are in this case, but I think the same kind of comment here, which is, does it lower Logan Sargent's chances? Logan Sargent, of course, the American, racing in Formula 2 for the first time this year with the Carlin team. Does it lower his chances? What do you think, Alex? And also, Alex, how old were you when you did your Formula 1 debut also at Monza back in 2001?
Oh god, I can't remember, dude. 25. Anyway, what was the first question again? Okay, let me just go.
Did Nyck's performance surprise you? How would you rate his chances of getting a drive next year?
No. I thought anything was, when I heard Nyck was getting in the car, I thought anything was possible. But Nyck is a good story, because when he won the karting world championship and he first came into cars, I don't think anyone had watched his debut with as much interest. The last person at that time to have garnered that sort of interest was Lewis Hamilton. Because when Nyck de Vries came to cars, we were all looking, wow, this guy's going to be amazing. We got to watch out for this guy. And he came to, this is before Verstappen, or just before Verstappen. And de Vries was very underwhelming when he came into cars. I remember he took a long time to get up to speed to the Formula Renault. I think he only won Formula Renault Euro Cup in his second year, maybe his third year. It was something ridiculous like that. Was underwhelming in F3, and I remember he went off and did some LMP2 driving. He was racing with gentleman drivers. He wasn't getting any sort of interest from any of the Formula One teams, even though he was on that he was on that stair ladder of, oh my God, this guy's going to be so amazing. You have to sign him up straight away. But he was knocked off it, and he was driving with gentleman drivers and stuff. Somehow, and I can't remember who was his backer, got him back into F2. First year, like you said, he didn't win the championship, but he won it in the second year. And I remember at that time, you're thinking, oh, okay, you know, he won it in his third year, right? He won it, third year. So not fashionable at all.
No.
But I was pleased to see Mercedes pick him up, you know, and they rewarded him by winning the Formula E championship. And let me tell you something, winning the Formula E World Championship is not easy. In many ways, it's harder than Formula One because the cars are much more similar and you have proper drivers throughout that field.
Yeah.
You know, any of those drivers could walk into Formula One and do a good job. So that didn't surprise me. What's the next? Has he walked into a Formula One seat? Absolutely.
Well, how do you rate his chances? If so, where? Where do you think he goes?
So, if I was his manager,
which is him,
trying to
Nyck
get
de
him to
Vries.
Alpine. Yeah, I'd be trying to get him to Alpine.
Yeah.
You know, Alpine's a really solid team, and they are really struggling to find someone that can leave the hole that Alonso and has left. You know, I would try and get him to Alpine, man. Alpine, that's the best seat on the grid, and I think Nick's done the sort of job yesterday that will make everyone sit up. The big question is Alpine smart enough to take him, or are they going to be risking?
Let's get Otmar on the phone. Otmar said in Spa, I was in Spa, as you know, a couple of weeks ago, and Otmar said, I think I got this right, there were 14 drivers on the list who had the sufficient super license points. I suspect that De Vries is one of them.
Because Nick's drive was quite extraordinary. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have match fitness, and he didn't. He couldn't get out of the car. And Monza is really, really easy. Monza is the easiest track on the grid for driver fitness. It is the easiest track. It's not high G energy corners, long straights to recover. So for Nick to be tired and couldn't even get out of the car just shows you how physical modern Formula One cars are. And that's when you see Hülkenberg jumping in at Silverstone and doing such a good job. Who was it for? Aston Martin? I can't remember.
Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, that was a really amazing job because Silverstone's proper physical. But he's a Mercedes driver, and he did a test session for Aston Martin, and then he jumped in on a Williams on the Saturday. That's so hard to do because a Formula One car is not like driving any other sort of single seater. There's so many things to learn that have to come natural. You know, whenever he's driving, he's going to be thinking, "Oh, which switch do I press? What does that switch do?" That takes a lot of mental energy. And for him to go through that race without making a mistake was super, super impressive. It's a sort of drive you'd expect. There are maybe 2 or 3 drivers on that grid which you would think could do it on a debut. You know what I mean? Yeah. The mental capacity to deal with that and not make a mistake. I kept expecting him to make a mistake. I kept expecting him, and he did lock up a couple times, but I kept expecting him to make a mistake that would drop him down quite a bit. But no, he just hung in there. He hung in the DRS when he needed to. When he fell out of the DRS train and he had Joe all over the back of him, he was very smart with how he positioned the car, used the Williams straight line speed well, used getting lapped by Verstappen well. All very smart, making the most of every single situation, which is a very hard to describe quality that the top F1 drivers have. The drivers that can win races in Formula 1.
Maybe it's a quality that comes from being 27 years of age and having done those 3 years in Formula 2, and then, as you say, going on and winning the Formula E World Championship for Mercedes.